We need to raise the standard and continue to raise the standard from the ground up.
Your past conditioning, your beliefs, you need to dump that and unlearn it and make room and opportunity for new stuff to come in.
If you're feeling that feeling at all within your gut, you need to go with it.
You have to have those people on your team who are willing to accept the change, because change is frustrating. All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 21 of the Apps and Asphalt podcast. This is Hayden, and we have an awesome guest, Mr. Adam McChesney. Hopefully I pronounced your last name correctly.
Yes, sir. My Kenny Chesney, what with Mick on the front.
With Mick, I love it. I love it. I've seen Kenny in concert actually a couple times, and he unfortunately puts on the same show. But As I digress, Adam is a marketing genius, and what we talk about a lot is we want to bring on guests that are going to help move your guys' business forward. So, we connected through actually Facebook. I've seen Adam's name around pretty much every time I get on Facebook. He's either a guest on someone's podcast. We just run in a lot of the same circles. So it's a pleasure to have you on, Adam. Why don't you give our audience a little bit of background about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, Hayden. Happy to be here and pour into the audience. So Adam McChesney, based here in St. Louis, Missouri, born and raised, pretty much lived here my whole life. Married to my lovely wife, Delaney. We just have a dog right now, Georgie, but our first child, it's a boy, is on the way here coming in September. So super excited to become a dad and just really go through life in this next phase. I spent 5 years in medical device sales up until the pandemic in 2020. So I worked for a company called ResMed, managed about a $25 million a year territory, and was super successful. It was an amazing culture company. I really couldn't ask for much more, but I kind of always had that entrepreneurial bug. I just didn't know what vehicle I was going to be able to drive to do it. So I started looking for ways to make money online back in 2018, and I came across a course that taught me how to build digital real estate through digital marketing. So essentially, I was building websites, ranking them to the first page of Google, and then acting as an exclusive lead generator in all these different contracting industries in local markets, kind of like what you would see with like a Home Advisor or a PhoneTac, but I would just send it to one company and they were much higher quality than what you see with those platforms. So I built up 200 websites from 2018 up until I left corporate America in 2020 because I wasn't able to really promote what I was doing. And I didn't necessarily need the money, but I wanted to eventually leave corporate America and have all these different case studies and everything kind of tied up to a point. In digital marketing, obviously, most people don't have that many websites, that many case studies, and all those different things. So I wanted to bring something a little bit different. So the pandemic obviously happened, and I went from traveling all over the state of Missouri selling CPAP equipment, and I was cooped up in my home. So it gave me the ability to really double down on the business, start actually selling more, making the phone calls, doing all that stuff. July 2020 came around, I left at the end of our fiscal year, and I started promoting what I was doing. I started joining masterminds. I started investing in myself and in the business. And people were like, hey, Adam, this is great. I love the digital real estate model, but I want you to do it for my contracting company because I don't want to rent an online asset. And I left a $200,000 a year job, so I'm following the money, right? So I kind of transitioned. It kind of started at ground zero with all those case studies because the methodologies and all that stuff is the same. But I kind of started at ground zero, and I started doing a more traditional agency. So we do logo branding, we build websites, we do SEO, and then paid advertising, Google, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. And I ran my own agency for about 9 months, doing all of the work myself, wearing all the hats in the company, because I couldn't afford to pay anybody. I didn't even take a paycheck for the first 7 months because I was investing in masterminds, business coaches, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I ended up transitioning over to Hite Digital, which is where I'm at now. So I'm an owner partner of the company. And we're the only agency in the space that operates in a franchise model. So we have about 700 clients in a variety of different contracting industries primarily. Doing all that stuff, we manage about $2.5 million in ad spend, 200 team members. We're named the Inc. 5000 last year and just doing some really, really cool stuff in an unregulated space. And over the course of that time, I ended up launching an auto glass company and a landscape design company because of some of those digital real estate sites that I had up there that were generating so many phone calls that I couldn't sell the value to businesses because they couldn't keep up with demand. So I know the other end of it as well, which is why a lot of people do business with us, because I've been in their seat and have inadvertently started companies, but based off of digital marketing, and then build the businesses on the back end. That's where we're at today.
Yeah, which is incredible, man. Like, you've built the businesses really on the front end, the heavy marketing and the sales, and then you go and figure out the production on the backside, especially on in construction, any of those spaces. There's a lot of technicalities to it. Construction's a very complex industry depending on what trade you're in. And so a lot of times these guys, they go and they start their business because they have either the experience of doing, whatever the trade is, they have the equipment, they're able to get funded, but they don't even think about the lead generation up on the front. You've done it the exact opposite way. So that's what I really find fascinating about your story. So you work with a ton of contractors. What we were kind of just briefly discussing before we jumped on is we see time and time again, there's contractors that know they need to market, or we got the smaller guys who are, owner operators, guys that were in your position a couple years ago doing everything, and they know they need to market, but it's just another to do. And, a lot of these guys probably listen to this podcast or not even prioritizing it or thinking about it. But I really want to dive into how important it is, because I personally don't believe a lot of contractors that are established have a problem getting leads. I think it's just such a, need-based, we're in a need-based industry. So, people are always searching for solutions. But what I do think contractors run into is getting the leads that they want, or being able to target the leads that they want. So what are some of the biggest, I would say, faults that you see a lot of contractors doing when it comes to digital marketing?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that you said right there that I want to touch on and kind of reiterate for the audience is it's not that people in the beginning usually struggle getting leads. It's more so leads from their ideal client avatar. And that's where a lot of the digital marketing stuff comes in, because you're able to do a variety of different things to be able to get those higher quality clients, the clients that are willing to spend more and are ready to buy now, and they're going to be less of a headache. Now, it's not always that case, but in the beginning, what we see with contractors is usually they're taking the low-hanging fruit. They're taking, whatever comes across their plate, because they have to do that to survive. And I've been in that situation before, and it gets you to eventually where you cannot have to do that. But people will start, buying leads from the get-go from any one of those companies that sells leads. They will spend either a bunch of money on marketing when their online presence doesn't have the capability to do it. So they'll start boosting Facebook posts, or they'll start doing SEO, what they built out a Wix website, and they'll pay a marketing company to start doing SEO on a bad platform. And there's companies out there that are obviously going to take your money and not think twice about doing it. So I would say the biggest thing, to kind of tie all that together, the first thing that you should be doing is really focusing on your Google business listing, getting reviews, getting testimonials, and building that up, because that's going to start to draw in business for you as well. And then when you go to build your website, it's fine if you build your own Wix website or GoDaddy or Squarespace, because they're super simple and easy, but never pay a company to build out a website on one of those platforms. And we see time and time again, those platforms are fine starter websites, and I compare it to that of a brochure. Meaning you're going to have to hand out more business cards. You're going to have to make more Facebook posts in order for people to get to that website, because they're going to have to see your URL. Organically, if you build out a website on a WordPress or a Duda, those are kind of the two main ones that we see that just organically start to rank. And you do it the right way, you're building your house on a strong foundation. So don't build your house on a faulty foundation and then start to pour money, do ad spend, do SEO. Don't do that, because it would be no different than you building a house and continuing to stack when the foundation itself is faulty.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, man. It's going into websites. When we have for Spot on Site, we have a lot of contractors coming in that want to jump on demos and all that. And what I do before I get on a Zoom call with them is I check out their website and their marketing presence or their social media presence. A lot of the guys I would say probably majority of them don't have their websites up to par to where it's user friendly. It does look like somebody created it. I think people often neglect the power of a website as being a lead generating tool and platform. How when you had the ability to start some of these companies based off of how many leads you had in because of the upfront work, what were some things you prioritized when you had when you built the websites out?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really, I always tell people, like, Google, even though as complicated as it is, it's like a third grader. So you got to talk to it like a third grader. Back end of your website, there's things like titles and descriptions of every single page that you can literally tell to Google, hey, I'm trying to rank for landscape design or auto glass in St. Louis, Missouri. And there's a list of like 20 things that you need to be doing, like tagging your images on your website with a keyword behind it. And most people don't do the basics, and most marketing companies, for that matter, don't do the basics. That's why it's not overcomplicated. In competitive industries, in competitive markets, all this stuff does take time, right? But most people don't do the basics. So you want to make sure that, again, Google understands what you do, where you're located, and how you can help people. The other thing that we see is that people are like, I don't want a big, robust website. I just want one page that tells my clients literally everything that I do so people don't get, confused, right? That confuses Google. So the basic website, like, we'll build out landing pages if it's somebody's budget that they just want to maybe run Google ads or they need something else. If the idea is that eventually we'll build out a bigger website on the back end, but most of our clients will start out with an 8-page website because most people will potentially have multiple service areas or they have a whole slew of services. So our landscape design company, for example, we did retaining walls, design, outdoor kitchens, concrete. You want to have an individual page for all of your services because if you have it all lumped in one, Google's going to look at this as like, hey, this is a landscape design company. People are going to search all of those other things, and it doesn't matter if you have it all there. You're confusing the crap out of Google. So I understand why you want to be super simplistic to your audience, but your best audience and your ideal audience is how do I please Google? So that's the thing that we see pretty primarily is like, even if they do have a website that's built on a good platform, is the back end part of it just isn't there, as well as the page structure and the overall structure of the website.
Yeah. And, Google, like you said, should be kind of your target customer because that is what people are looking up. And they do look up simple stuff. A lot of times contractors go into the technicalities of stuff, but think about your ideal customer. Like if you're a asphalt contractor like we are, if you do like maybe residential work, people might not even know that it's called asphalt. People might type in blacktop, something, yes. Those weird terms that, like I said, talked it like a third grader would, are what's going to get you exposure to it. And, I'm not trying to steal any credit from it, but just learning a lot about it through trial and error of stuff that we've thought we were doing right. Companies that we've worked with in the past that we thought were helping us out, and we ended up wasting a lot of time, a lot of money, and got no results. And so there's unfortunately, a lot of companies are just bleeding money left and right. The one thing I feel, Adam, and I'll be honest with contractors, you're talking about, posting and tagging, a keyword behind it. The problem I feel with contractors, these guys don't have time, and it is by far not a priority. They don't even know how to tag a photo. I don't even know how to tag a photo. So as far as like outsourcing your marketing services, whether it's Hite or whether it's a good digital marketing company, digital marketing, when we first met, we're talking about it. It's like it's kind of like the contracting industry. There's a couple good ones, but worse. There's a couple good ones, but then there's a lot of bad ones. And unfortunately, a lot of people have gotten burned from your industry and your space. If you were to recommend somebody to outsource this kind of service, what would be some things that you want to look for, or some qualifying questions that these people can ask to know if they're going to find it or be working with a good company or not?
Yeah, great question. And so there's three key things. One, you want to make sure you own the website and any sort of ad accounts or any asset that these marketing companies are building out for you. There's a lot of national marketing companies that are out there, and they're very sales centric. And they are cold calling people literally all day long. Any contractor that's listening to this is like, I get 5 to 6 calls from these people every single day, right? And they have low barriers to entry sometimes. Some of them are high, like even 2 or 3x what we charge, which is insane. But they own your website. I was talking with a contractor yesterday. We literally have to, they owned his domain, which is insane. I never heard of that. They owned his domain, they owned his website, they own the content, and there's more and more companies that out there that are going to that model because of the economy, but because of the evaluations of companies. So if you think about these marketing companies that are trying to eventually sell or get investors, if you basically own everything, the reason why clients don't leave those companies is because they're like, I don't want to start all over from ground zero. So the best way to do that is just don't do it from the beginning. But if you're in there, get out as soon as possible. You're going to have to start over at some point, because eventually you're just going to be like, this company isn't, like, it's a transparency thing, but it's also those companies usually don't provide the best lead generation services. It's more of a technology on the website and SaaS side than it is the lead generation. So that's number one. Number two is you're always needing to ask for results. And people ask me all the time, can I talk to some of your clients? We have over 700 clients. Pretty much in any type of industry, I can get you somebody on the phone, multiple people on the phone to do that. But there are a lot of marketing companies that are out there that have 20, 30 clients, and they have 5 clients, right, that they've had for a very long time that might be on very, very low pricing to just pick up the phone and woo these people over. So I always say, give me the data, show me what you're doing right now for people. So we literally have a lead dashboard that we can pull up essentially in almost any given industry and show real-time data and say, hey, this is a real lead that came in, and here was the quality of it. People are like, wow. So when I'm getting on a call, or my team's getting on a call with somebody, we're able to like show them, and hey, if you really do need to talk to somebody after, here you go. So ask for the data and the specifics, ask for tracking. What does the cadence look like in reporting and meetings and things like that? And then 3 is really the team inside the marketing company. So for me right now, I started doing everything. Now directly, I have 9 full-time team members with access to our 200 on our fulfillment team. But my team members are better at all of the things my clients are going to be doing with us than me. And things change so quickly, but you want to make sure that beyond who is selling you, right? So even if you're talking to an owner of a marketing company, or you're talking to a salesperson, like, what do I get access to, and who do I get access to after the sale? Because so many people just call, they get the sale, they close the phone, they send over the invoice. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get an onboarding email and a call, and then things drop off after that. So we're really big on all of our clients get a dedicated account manager that they're working with either weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, depending upon if the client wants to meet with them. They get my VP, they get a product manager, project manager, director of clients. Like, there's a ton of people in the background that are just there for added support. Because the one thing about marketing is, I don't care how, we have 700 clients. We've been doing this over and over and over again. Things go wrong, and there's never an exact science. You want the team behind that to be able to figure out your market, your budget, all of those things, and figure out how to get you to win.
Yeah, you're constantly chipping away at it. And, not to mention on that, and I don't quite understand it myself, but we hear a lot about platforms and their algorithms. And Google is one of those that the algorithms change quite frequently, if I understand it correctly, or maybe they don't, but they change, and you have to have a team that's good and understands how to navigate around that. And we've ran into that where we've worked with companies in the past, or we've heard about companies that have been completely behind the eight ball and they're doing last algorithms, processes, or techniques. And so they're just blowing a lot of cash. As far as like Google ad spend, I'll kind of tell you what we've done. I like to get your 2 cents on it. So we get involved with like our teams and we're talking to them and we're saying, okay, our business is seasonal for asphalt paving where we're at in Colorado. So we essentially can pave and do all the asphalt services from April till about late October, sometimes November, even trickle-ins to December. But during like the beginning of the year, we're pretty much shut off for all of our asphalt services. We also do concrete as well. Concrete we can do when it's 32 degrees and above. So it's essentially kind of a year-round service. But what we do is, once springtime comes up, maybe in like late February, March, is we'll start pushing heavier and more money towards the AdWords or towards the keywords like the asphalt, like the seal coating, like the paving. And then towards the end of the year, we'll pull money off of that and put more money, redirect that funds to like concrete. So we're just kind of shifting around this, but it's something you have to really pay attention to, because I could imagine there's a lot of companies that don't think about that enough, to where they're just running asphalt AdWords all year long, money towards it. It's not benefiting anybody. It's falling on deaf ears, essentially. What is your kind of approach to how you would move your advertising money around for these companies to make it most effective?
Yeah, another great question. So we recommend our clients do search engine optimization literally year round. So that way, that's more like your typical like going to the gym, right? I refer to Google Ads as like you're preparing for like a competition or a race or a marathon. You're going to be sprinting at different times and you're going to be lifting heavier at different times, getting ready for that competition. And then once that competition's done, you're probably going to take a little bit of time off and kind of just get back to your normal routine. But then you're going to probably have something that is a new season or a new opportunity or whatever that might be. You never want to turn your Google Ads fully off if you have the capability to at least spend a little bit of money, because they at least want to know that, for example, if you're running for a marathon, you crush the marathon, right? And at the end, you just stop running for 6 months and then you try to go start running and train for the next marathon. There's that drop off, right? And that drop off with Google is the optimization. Google just wants to know that you're there, you're alive, you're spending some money. Now, it doesn't have to be a ton of money, but what most contractors do wrong is, one, they'll just stop SEO, which you should never stop SEO, as long as obviously the campaign's right and things are working. But with Google Ads, they'll shut it off and then they'll try to turn it back on again. And again, there's certain instances where people are like, we literally don't have the money to do this stuff. We're not taking paychecks, all those things. Of course, if that's the case, then it isn't going to make sense. But if you can afford to do it, it really helps, because March just came around and we had a ton of people come back and they're like, well, I'm ready to go. Well, then it's like, okay, here's another optimization period that you got to run through. So at least if you're feeding it a little bit throughout the slow months, you're going to be in a good position, maybe shift services around it, as you mentioned. But yeah, that's what I always recommend.
No, it's great. That's great advice there. And what I want to harp on to a lot of our guys is, when you do start working with a marketing company, if you do decide to go that route, you have to understand that it's a long game. It's the immediate results are not going to happen. And because part of SEO is it takes time, it takes consistency. Like you said, Google's got to recognize that you've been active and been, doing your part, quote unquote, for an extended period of time in order to start helping you out. So be willing to, wait for the results to happen. And sometimes, we just started working with a great marketing company for Spot on Site. And the build-up period and the content creation is taking upwards of 60 days, just because we're starting from essentially ground zero. So be willing to sacrifice that time period. But what we also approach, and part of our 8-figure paving playbook, is we talk into marketing a little bit. This is something that you guys, if you can, like Adam said, if you're in a position that you can afford it, you need to budget for it. It's a monthly expense. It's a necessity. It's just like paying your loans for your equipment. It's a front end part of your business. And if the leads aren't coming in, your marketing isn't dialed in, then you're essentially going to be paying for equipment that's not going to be ran. Guys are going to be standing around or finding new jobs because they don't have any work. So I know it varies depending on the company, the size, what the goals are. For a smaller, let's say mom and pop shop that does maybe under $1 million of revenue, or maybe just a couple $1 million, what's probably a good amount of money that they can start allotting towards marketing services, including not only, the management of it, but them to do the ad spend as well?
Yeah. So between all of those different things, again, whether you're just doing SEO or if you're doing SEO plus Google Ads or just Google Ads, probably $3,000 to $5,000 a month between all of the different things. That includes your management fees, your ad spends, all of those things. And then again, it just kind of depends if you're doing one of those services or both. But yeah, $3,000 to $5,000 is normally a pretty typical, like, hey, if you're going to get started and do this, you'd rather go and do it right or save up to when you can do it the right way. Because I've seen too many contractors that are like, hey, I get $1,000, I get $2,000, and I can allot that. And then they start to spend it. And those are usually the people that need the investment back right away. Stop 60 days later, and they're like, digital marketing sucks.
That's exactly it, man. I can see it. And it's just, unfortunately, that's part of the society we live in nowadays. And, when people think digital or anything technology wise, they think instant. It should happen instantly. But especially.
Well, the one thing there with the instant gratification, I tell people all the time, is they're like, why doesn't this happen sooner, quicker, faster, stronger, all these different things? You have to think about it, is if it was so easy to do it, and you could just outrank all of your competition that's been doing it for a very long time, or they've been in business for a long time, well, then if you got there so easy, your competitors are then going to be able to jump you so easy. So if it's so easy to do, it's not going to be that hard for somebody else to go outrank you. So it's a kind of a good thing long term, because again, you're building out your digital real estate, you're building out these assets, all those things that you're not going to lose. Again, it's assuming you own your website and things like that. So there is a silver lining in it, that it isn't so easy, because everybody would just be going and doing it, investing money there, and then it'd just be like a jump, hop, and a skip on that first page of Google.
Well, and guess what, man? That's just like what it takes to run a business.
Yeah.
If it was easy to run a business, then everyone would be killing it, and there's nobody who is doing better than each other. It's the same thing, just in a aspect of your business. So it's if you can comprehend that, guys, that just shows you the necessity and the importance of starting now and starting earlier than later. Is because everything, you're not going to see it pay off maybe the first couple months, but when you're a couple years in, which hopefully you plan to have your business for a couple years, you're going to really thank yourself for starting now with services like digital marketing or doing marketing in general. One thing I want to go back to as well is we were talking about Google reviews. I'll be transparent with you, man. We've been trying to build out processes for our paving company. We're not great at it. I mean, we got probably a handful of them, probably like 25 Google reviews, but it's nowhere near as many as we should have. And so what we're doing is we're trying to build the software out to make automatic emails sent once a job has been invoiced and completed to get these Google reviews. What are some good ways that these guys can almost automate that process that gives them a better chance of stacking these reviews?
You're asking some great questions.
Hey, I'm on it today, baby. I got my 8 hours last night.
I love it, man. So great question. So in our auto blast company, we've been in business for a little bit different of an industry, but we've been in business for since January of 2021. So a little over 2 years. We have 250 our average rating is 4.9, 250 reviews. There's one other company in town that has more, and they've just been starting to increase because they see that we've been doing it. But every other company in town, even the safe lights here locally, don't have it anywhere near what we have. And the reason that we do it, and the reason that we've been successful is all on expectation setting. And we actually use no software, because the software in our CRM with the auto glass company to turn that feature on, it's stupid expensive, and they charge like it's just dumb. So maybe at some point we'll get back to doing that. But it's all about expectation setting. And so what we have is we have our technicians go out to the job, and we'll show up to the job and we'll be like, hey, Hayden, thank you so much for the opportunity. We're here to replace the glass. Here's the glass on your whatever vehicle you have. It should take about 45 minutes. If at any point I find something that's going to take in a little bit longer or maybe a little bit less, because sometimes these people will drop off their cars or whatever, we will let you know and communicate that proactively. Now, at the end of the job, I'm going to clean everything up. I'm going to discard the old glass, and then you'll be on your way. You'll sign to make sure that in our CRM, we have the agreement that everything looks good, and you sign off on it, and then we'll collect payment. Does that sound good, Aiden? And obviously they say yes. Okay. And at the end of that, our goal would be to deliver that 5-star experience, which for us is a Google review. And so if we do everything that I just mentioned that we were going to do, and we do it on time and communicate proactively and all these different things, would you be willing to give us a review? Everybody's going to say yes. At the end of that, on the back of our business cards, we have a QR code. So the QR code will go right to the review. So then that way they can leave it on the spot. Now, of course, every time I tell this to a contractor, they're like, well, everybody says they'll do it later. I just politely ask and I say, hey, we are a small business. You probably found us on Google because that's where 90% of our phone calls come from. This is the lifeblood of what we're doing, and we're looking to grow and scale and do all these things and give back to the community. So if you could just, proactively leave us this review right now, that would be amazing. And the only differentiation is on the back of the QR code as well. We have some on the back of the business card, we tell them key things to put in the review. And if somebody asks, we'll explain it. But what I mean by that is have them explicitly say their experience and also where they were located and what the job was done. So for an asphalt paving, for example, say the specific service, say it was at a home or a business, and then say the suburb of where it was at. Because everybody wants to rank in a large area with their Google business listing, but your pin is in one location. The way that you do that proactively and consistently when people search asphalt paving near me is when somebody said, hey, I'm over here and I was a street over and this company just did asphalt paving. So long-winded answer, but hopefully that was helpful.
Oh man, that was worth the entire podcast right there, guys. I mean, rewind that for about 2 minutes and just re-listen that whole thing, because that is it right there. The location and the specifics of it are going to help you guys improve your reviews and your rankings. So I need to quit being a hypocrite, and we need to practice what we preach. But thank you for that. I want to shift gears pretty harsh. Pretty harsh. And you talked about when you first got into the game, the entrepreneurship game, you put a lot of money and time into your own personal growth and development. I'm huge on this because I've seen the results of it myself. I personally think there's a ton of people out there that, especially the business owners that watch this podcast, that need to continue to be developing and evolving themselves. When did you start to make that journey, and why?
So I did it 3 weeks into entrepreneurship.
Did you? Okay.
Time, yeah. So I have been following people online for a while because, again, I was trying to grow and scale my stuff on the side. And I knew that I had no idea how to run a business. And so I was following people, and everybody was talking about these certain masterminds and business coaches and all this different stuff. So I thought I could do it on my own, right? About 3 weeks in, I had pretty much done nothing. I kind of took a little bit of a vacation, I guess. I was sitting in the pool, hanging out at home, just kind of saying, hey, I'm an entrepreneur now. I could work whenever I want to, wherever I want to, which is kind of true, kind of not. And I realized, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So I joined this first mastermind group, and then that led to, right now I have a life and mindset coach. I have a business coach. I'm in multiple industry masterminds and other masterminds where you and I have connected as well. And the reason behind why I did that is because in my mind, I had a very short period of time in order to make this work. So we had just bought our forever dream home 5 weeks before I quit my job, which is literally insane. We had obviously all the bills coming, like there was a lot of stuff. Now I have built up a nest egg, and I basically told myself, I'm going to give it 6 months and I'm going to see if I can make this work. If I fail, great, I can go back to medical device sales. But what I knew that I needed to do is I needed to take some of the money that was coming in from the business, and before I paid myself, I needed to get in rooms with people that could help me condense time. And I was willing to trade money to get time back, and also expertise and education and all those things. Once I did that, the freaking floodgates opened. So I started building my personal brand, which I've been posting twice a day, every single day on Facebook for almost 2.5 years, building out to other platforms, doing all the networking, but really truly investing in myself first. And then that reaps rewards in the business later.
I love that. You said condensing time. And that's exactly what seeking, expertise or mentorship does for you. Because when you are in that position where you are a mentor, your goal is to give the education or the experiences or the lessons that you have went through, that you've learned and failed at, and you want to show somebody how they can skip that part of it. So,
I grew our marketing agency again, literally from $0 in this new model, July 2020, to we did our first $1 million in 15 months. And that does not include our clients' ad spend in it. Like, that's literally unheard of in the digital marketing agency space, just in general, getting to 7 figures kind of as I was on my own, but doing it that quickly. It wasn't that I did anything too different. I just did all the things that normally business owners don't do until they're 3 to 5 years in business and everything is burning to the ground. I just did it because I knew from the beginning I didn't know what to do. I don't want to burn it to the ground. I'd rather just go and tackle it straight ahead.
Yeah, and that's a good way to approach that, man. Are you a big books guy? You like reading?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Give me probably your top 3 favorite books or books that have impacted you the most.
So Relentless by Tim Grover.
Okay.
Think and Grow Rich. And then what is the EOS book?
Oh, Traction.
Traction. Yes. Sorry, that name. So those 3, obviously Think and Grow Rich from a mindset standpoint, just holistically about everything that really has to do with life, but also obviously business and personal and things like that. Relentless, because I think the biggest thing that you have to be in order to be successful in entrepreneurship is just not quit. And you have to figure out what you need to do and what it takes in order to be successful. And then Traction, once we implemented that about 18 months ago in our company, it changed the way that we managed people, hired people, fired people, and then also just ran the business.
Yeah.
And it helped me understand. At that time, I had brought an integrator into our company, and it's just been an absolute game changer.
That's amazing, man. And yeah, Traction, that's a book that we can talk about for a long time. I'm not trying to throw a plug at our group that we're launching, but what we bring in for our 8-figure paving playbook is we talk about Traction, some of the principles that are in that, because that is how you're able to take a chaotic organization and kind of tunnel vision it and get things and get people in line. And I would say probably one of the best things we learned out of Traction that we were doing so wrong was meetings.
Oh, yes.
And, how much derailment we had for, we have a sales meeting, then we start talking about a project, and then we start getting into stories. And then by the hour, it's just wasted. And we got nothing accomplished. There's no to-do items or action items. We didn't really divulge any KPIs. And it was pretty eye-opening going into that. So if you guys are a business owner, that is definitely one of the books I would definitely harp on. And this, I'm sure you would testify to that as well, Adam. And then Relentless, I haven't finished that one. I'll be honest. I started that a couple years ago, but I just haven't finished it. But Tim Grover is he was Jordan's basketball coach, or
personal trainer,
and Kobe.
And Kobe, yeah.
So, talking about getting into the mentality and mindset of what is it like? There's the cleaners, the
closers, and then there's I can't think of the other one. So there's the cleaner and the closers.
But anyways, just him talking about like the mindset of these guys and how he coached these guys to be champions and pretty much unstoppable is amazing. So I would recommend that. And now that you brought it up, I got to go back and finish it. So what does the next 5 years look like for you, or what's the big plans for Adam coming up?
Yeah, so right now I'm getting into more speaking events. So I'm speaking on everything from personal branding to entrepreneurship, digital marketing. So super excited about that. Along with that is getting some opportunities for some consulting. And then looking at long-term equity deals within companies, right? So if you think about what I did with the auto glass company and the landscape design company, I created those myself and then brought in partners and teams to run those companies. Now I'm getting approached with opportunities and taking a look at businesses. Maybe they're new, they're struggling, they don't have the money for marketing. What does it look like for us to reduplicate what we did with auto glass and landscape design, but do it after the business has already been started to get equity in those companies as, chief marketing officer, whatever that is, but you get access to my full team. So those are some of the exciting things that I got going on.
You got the great game plan, man. I love it. I can see the success already from here, man. So tell us, you have your podcast. Yes. Tell our listeners, because your podcast, obviously, from the value you provided, but I know you bring in a lot of great guests onto yours. What's your podcast called, and where can they find that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Entrebrewer. So you can go and type that into any podcast platform or go to entrebrewer.com. But where I have grown, obviously, over the past couple of years in masterminds and networking is meeting great people like yourself, and excited to have you on the podcast. But I bring guests on and walk them through what I have built as an entrepreneur process. And when I originally thought of the concept, I thought, okay, every entrepreneur, even though there might be some similarities in everybody's story, it's all a little bit different, and every beer is brewed a different way, and that's why obviously they taste different. So we walk through kind of a series of 5 main questions and topics, and just learn a ton from entrepreneurs and amazing business owners and their incredible stories.
Yeah, and it's not, even though it is Entrebrewer, I learned that's not, you guys don't just sit there and talk about beer. It's the more the process of it, which I think would be cool too, but there's only so much you can talk about and drink for as far as beer. So, I really appreciate you coming on, and you guys are listeners out there. This digital marketing and marketing in general is so important to your business. And it's just another avenue of your business that you need to keep your pulse on. You need to bring in great teams and great companies to run that part of it, because although you may not see the results instantly, it will pay dividends in the future. So if you guys are starting from scratch, or you need to make a transition, or you have no clue even what your marketing team's doing, Adam, where can they find you? Where can they learn more about your guys' company?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, that's going to be the best place to connect with me. That's Adam L. McChesney. And then you can also go to AdamMcChesney.com, and you can see all the information about the podcast, Hite Digital, and everything there, and connect with us, and we'll schedule a call.
Perfect. Awesome, guys. Well, Adam, thank you so much, man, for jumping on. This has been awesome. I got a lot of great value out of it. I'm sure our listeners did as well. You guys, this was episode 21 of the Apps and Asphalt podcast with Adam McChesney. We'll see you guys next week.